this corona and COVID and all these issues, right? So that's what we're going to discuss today. So till now we have talked about, or you have been, discussed about who we are, who is God, what is the relationship with God, what is the difference between an animal and human being. Although also we talked about what are Vedas, right? And then we discussed about a mantra meditation technique which will help us to be better person. And in last session we have talked about how eternal love can be achieved. What is the attraction principle? What is the real attraction? Who is the boss and who is a das or a servant, right? And what is the original behavior of a soul? What is it supposed to do? And we finally discussed how we belong to God, not that we are God. We can never be God, because obviously we can figure it out. So many things in our life which happen which you cannot control. So how can we become God? So today we're going to discuss what is this happy planet we're talking about, where everywhere there is happiness. There is one time, I'll start with a story. One time one person was frustrated with life and he wanted to give up everything and commit suicide. So he went to a railway track. This was in Mumbai. And he laid down himself on the railway track. And he waited that a railway will come, it will run over him, and then he will die. That was his plan. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, nothing happened. 1 hour, 2 hours passed by, nothing happened, no train came. He was wondering what's happening. So he asked somebody who was passing by, why is there no train going through this track? And they told him this track is disabled for a couple of years now. So no train will come. So he was frustrated again. And he was coming back in on a bus and he said, okay, I'll try some other means. So at that time he heard a song in the bus. Somebody was singing a song. And this is a Hindi song, but I'll translate it in English. And it said, I will take you to such a world where there is no miseries. It's only a planet of happiness. Nothing, you don't need to worry about anything. Where every word is a song. Every step is a dance, right? And there is no envy between two people. There is no pride. There is no anger. Everything is happy, and everybody is happy. You don't need to go to the college. You don't need to do study. You don't need to do the job. I'll request people to go on mute, please. And you don't need to worry about anything. There is no disease. There is no birth. There is no death, and there is no old age. Now this fellow got really attracted and he was thinking, wow, I really want to go to such a world. Where is this world? So he somehow found the poet who had written this song, and he went to the poet. He was a Bollywood poet, and he asked, you written this song, where is this place? And the poet said, it's just a song. I don't really know this is a place. He again got frustrated. But then while coming back home, he met a person and he told him about his situation. And he told, why don't you come with me? And he took him to a temple in Mumbai. This was in the Girgaon Chapari temple. And there a class was going on, class on Bhagavatam. And there the speaker was speaking about the same principle. That here we have come to this material world where we are living currently, and we are troubled by so many things. Young people are troubled by studies. Sometimes young people are troubled by their parents. Young people are troubled by not able to get what they want. And people who are married, they are troubled by their spouses. Wives are troubled by their husbands or their in-laws. There's trouble everywhere. You talk about it and there's trouble everywhere. And he said, there is a place where there is no trouble and you're going to enjoy. And then he said, wow, I think I have found the place now. And he spoke to the speaker and he was able to get more details about the planet. And that's what exactly we want to discuss today. Basically, we are living in a miserable place, and we are actually come from a place which is all blissful, all enjoyable. Now it sounds like a dream. It doesn't sound real, but that's the case. So if I tell you a person, let's say if one of you visit Germany or any Western country, and then you go to a village or a city You're talking to a friend, and you're telling a friend, you know what? In Germany, everything is spick and span. No, garbage on the street. No papers on the street. Nothing. Everything is spick and span. No, very, very clean. If you tell that, the person, let's say he's staying in Hyderabad or he's staying in Chennai or wherever it is, he'll say, how is it possible? Because in India, it's very difficult to find a place which is very, very clean, right? Especially a city, entire city. You can have your home clean, but maybe not the city. So now, but that person has seen, the other person has seen Germany. Every month they have a cleanliness drive, which means everybody has to come out, clean the roads, and make it spick and span, right? Now, that person has seen it. But for a person coming from India, it's very difficult to believe, right? Now, somebody coming from US or Germany to India, it's very difficult to believe that how can people, drive in such a place where there are so many people crisscrossing, not following signals, and still be able to, achieve the destination. Very difficult to, believe. Similarly, we sitting here, we are looking around here, we are seeing the news and in the newspaper that everywhere there is trouble and material miseries and everything. There cannot be a place which is full of happiness. People will tell you, give you philosophies. You know what? If there is no miseries, how can you enjoy happiness? You have to have a contrast. Unless you see miseries, you cannot be happy. But that's not true. There is a place where there is only happiness and nothing else. Right? That is what is the spiritual world we want to talk about. Right? So we'll talk about the miserable material world, which we know all of, so we don't really need to talk much about it. And we'll talk about spiritual world and ABCD formula, how to reach in the spiritual world. So now in a miserable material world, right? Now there are beauty queens for the boys, such beauty queens are really beautiful and they are really going after them, right? And they, at the young age, especially when they are in college, they think, oh, only if I had in a college where I would have a beauty queen who I can, go after, I can date, I can enjoy, right? But then hardly know that in old age, the same person is going to be, so old, so full of, skin which is going to go dry, and all the pimples and all things is going to be really, really, looking ugly. Correct? People do not know this, but they soon will realize that a person is going to become old. So this is basically the temporary nature of this world. A beauty cannot remain permanent in this world. Marilyn Monroe, she was a Hollywood actress, very beautiful. People were really after her. Millions and millions of people were after her. But one day she committed suicide. You know why? Because her hair started growing gray. And she started thinking, well, if my hair started growing gray, and at that time I think they didn't have the, what do you call, color to apply to the hair. So she thought, maybe if all my hair grow gray, nobody's going to go after me. They'll think I am become old. So no, I'll not be famous. So she committed suicide. So like that, there is nobody in the world who is going to remain beautiful for their entire world. We might be after a beautiful woman or a beautiful boy, but that beauty is not going to stay for long. It is only temporary beauty. Right? You might say, "Nee, sir, what are you saying? It's good to know philosophy, but we get attracted by a beautiful girl or a beautiful boy." No, I know, but we have to ingrain in our mind that everything that is beautiful is going to become, if not ugly, it's going to vanish, right? Like that. So we tend to forget the permanent and we tend to give importance to the externals, which is very, 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 very temporary. We have learned in the sessions that we are a soul, we are not this body. So whatever we see here is actually not we, that you are not seeing me, you are seeing my body, correct? So why should we be after this body, which is temporary and which is going to vanish, which is going to perish, right? That's the philosophy you have to understand. There was a young lady, very beautiful, like in the picture. And there was a hefty man, right? And he wanted to marry this lady, but she was not interested to marry him. But he kept on pursuing, saying, no, 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 I really want to marry you. You're so beautiful. I am so handsome. Let's get married. And she said, no, I'm telling you, I don't want to get married. And he said, no, 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 I really want to get married. And he was really after her. So she realized it's futile to tell him the same thing again and again and again. So what she did, she actually told him, after 15 days, you please come to my home and then we'll meet together. And the boy was really happy. He said, wow, finally she's agreed to my proposal. I'm going to go to her and I'm going to date her and I'm going to go to this, that. And he was really excited. 15 days passed away. He went to the home of this lady. And when he knocked on the door, a frail, ugly looking lady who was, become emaciated, and, she was really looking ugly. Her hair were, scattered. Her lips were dried. Her skin had become, dried. And she was really looking ugly. And he thought maybe she's the maid servant of my beautiful lady, my beautiful wife, to-be wife. So he said, why don't you call so-and-so, whatever her name was. So the girl said, actually, I am the same person, whatever her name was. Let's say Emma. I am Emma. And he said, no, you're joking with me. Emma is so beautiful. She's got so, beautiful blonde hairs. And she's, her eyes are so beautiful, like a lotus flower or a petal. Her nose is so beautiful. I love her really. You don't make joke with me. You please call her. And she said, no, it's me, Emma. Why don't you recognize me? And he said, what? How can you become so emaciated? How can you become so ugly? You're so beautiful 15 days back. I was mad after you. And she said, you don't believe me? Come with me. And she took him at the back door of the home. And she showed in a big jar, this is my beauty. She said, for the last 15 days, I've been fasting. I've been taking prerogatives, and because of which I've been, coughing and I've been vomiting. And what you see here is my beauty. Because I was beautiful before, and minus that is what I am right now, which means this is the beauty. And he understood it. And he said, now I understand. Beauty is very, very temporary. Beauty cannot be permanent. It has to go down at old age. Now, even if you, look at the Bollywood actresses or, the Tollywood actresses or the Andhra Pradesh actresses, I don't know who are the actresses in Andhra Pradesh, but they are going to go old. They are going to grow old. One day they will grow old and they will not be attractive. They try to do a lot of things, like Sridevi tried to take a lot of injections and, so many, things she tried to remain beautiful, but it's not possible. Naturally, it is not possible to remain beautiful, right? All the time. So, which means this world is temporary. We are after these temporary things. It is not a good idea to remain, a good idea to be after this temporary thing. It's a fleeting beauty. Will go away. Real beauty is the spiritual part, because this material world, whatever material things we see, like for this example, I am wearing this shirt now. After a couple of years, this is going to go bad. It is going to, really go, I cannot wear this again after a couple of years, because it's going to go on tone, and it's not no more going to be which I can use. Correct? That's why we should not get attracted by the externals. We might think, oh, how can we give up, sir? It is so beautiful. I like it. Yes, but don't go mad about it, because we are not this body. If we are this body, we were able to, keep this body, healthy for long, but we cannot, right? That's why we have to understand this principle. So people think, oh, no, everything is this world. Outward beauty is everything. And everybody is, for the outward beauty. That's why this cosmetic industry is growing so much. But that's not the truth. If that was the truth, then why would people die? Why would people become old? Why would their beauty vanish? That is because they are going to grow old and they're going to become, they are going to die. That's why material beauty is, or material body is perishable, which is full of ignorance and giving pain. Now you look at our own body. The body is troubling us, all the time. We get hurt somewhere. Our stomach is aching. Otherwise, our mind is troubling you. Something or the other with the body is going to trouble you, right? Because this body is very, very temporary. But spiritual body is permanent. How do you know? Because we keep taking birth again and again. Because we are not this body, we are a soul. And soul is spiritual. Like we learned in one of the sessions. That spirit never dies. Bhagavad Gita says, Nainam chindati shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainyam kliyadantyapo, na shvashutam arutaha. You cannot kill the soul. You cannot dry it up. You cannot set fire. You cannot, the wind cannot do anything with it. Water cannot do anything with it because it's spirit. Spirit and matter are different. Spirit never dies. Spirit is eternal, whereas this body, this material things, is temporary. The temporary thing is never going to last, but the spirit is going to last. And one of the characteristics of a spirit soul, that is Satchidananda. Satchidananda means full of knowledge, bliss, and it is eternal. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat means eternal. Chit means knowledge. And Ananda means bliss. That is the characteristics of the soul, not the characteristics of matter. Matter is exactly opposite. Matter is temporary, matter is without knowledge, and matter is full of pain. Right? Because when you say matter is without knowledge, which means we are ignorant of so many things. We don't even know who we are, what to say about any other things. Right? That's the difference. That is the key aspect of Bhagavad Gita. If you understand this aspect of Bhagavad Gita, you have understood Bhagavad Gita completely. Otherwise, we are missing the point. And Krishna is dedicated in about 20 shlokas only for this knowledge in second chapter, 2.11 to 2.31. Entire 20 shlokas are dedicated to spiritual knowledge, right? Like that. And also Bhagavad Gita says, Urdhvam moolam adashakam ashvattam prahuravvyam chandamsi jasya paranani yastam vedasa vedavet. 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It is saying this material world is a reflection, perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Like a tree, banyan tree, which is standing on the banks of a river. Now the tree is upright, right? The roots are below and the branches and the leaves and the fruits are on the top of the tree. But if you look at the reflection of the tree in the river, how do you look at? It's exactly upside down. The roots seem to be in the top and the branches seem to be exactly in the opposite. Similarly, the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, and it's a perverted reflection. Perverted means it's not as pure as the spiritual world. It is exactly opposite. If there is happiness in spiritual world, there is ignorance and miseries in this material world. If there is knowledge, there is ignorance. If there is permanency in spiritual world, the material world is full of temporariness. Anything in this world you look at, give me one thing which is going to last in this world. You might say, no, sir, this earth is going to last. No. Even the earth is going to be destroyed at a certain point of time. When Brahma dies, or even the first day of Brahma, when Brahma goes to sleep, the entire universe up to Brahma's planet is destroyed. And when Brahma dies, even Brahma's planet is destroyed. So what to think about this earth? All the universal planets are destroyed. Nothing is permanent here. Everything is temporary. Why so? Because that's what we're going to discuss today. Right? So far, so good. If you understood so far, just type in yes in the chat window. If you're not understood anything, just type in no, or if you have a question. Okay, 1, thank you, 2, 3, only 3 so far. There are 32 participants. 4, 5. Come on, guys. Please type in yes if you are good. If you have a question, you can ask the question. Okay, 10, 12 people are at least responding. That's good. I would love to get a response from all of you. So please be active. If you become active, you will get all the knowledge. Otherwise, you'll think what's going on, I don't know. Right? Okay. Now, our material body or anything material here is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. For example, there is a real marble, if you can see on the left-hand side. And there is a imitation marble, fake marble. There is a real currency, imitation currency. Real mangoes, fake mangoes. Similarly, there is spiritual beauty and material beauty. Spiritual beauty is everlasting. It is enhancing, right? If a person is beautiful in spiritual world, he never becomes old. He never becomes, ugly. He never gets any kinds of bodily ailments. Whereas in the material world, you cannot remain healthy or beautiful or strong all the time. You are bound to get impacted by the time, right? Like for example, there was a time when I was as I was young as you guys, and I used to work in Infosys. This was in Infosys when I was working. At one point of time, I worked for 48 hours continuously. I went to the office in the morning at 9 o'clock. I worked entire day, entire night, right? And not exactly 48 hours, sorry, 36 hours. So it became 24 hours continuously, and then 12 more hours Night, 9 o'clock the next day evening, I went home, right? I had hardly 1 hour sleep in the night because it demanded so much work. And then the next day I slept for 10 hours and I was normal. I was able to become, get back to normal state. But if I do the same thing now, I'll probably fall sick because my body will not be able to take it. That's the reality, which means the body decays, the body weakens as you become old. Right? That's why this material world is temporary, whereas the spiritual world is blissful. Now, the soul actually comes from the spiritual world. And this is what we call in the Vedic scripture as Vaikuntha, Golok, like that. You would have heard these words, right? Some people say, oh, he's gone to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha Vasi ho gaye, or Swarga Vasi ho gaye, Kailash Vasi ho gaye. That's exactly what it means. Basically, we have come from the spiritual world, and if we perfect our life, then we go back to the spiritual world. If we don't perfect our world, we'll remain here. And that's what we'll discuss here. Right? So we come from the spiritual world where every word is a song, which means nobody is just walking there. Everybody is dancing. Everybody is singing. Right? Every step is a dance. And when do you dance or when do you sing? Can somebody tell me? When do you sing a song or when do you dance? Anybody? When we are happy, exactly, Amarnath. Thank you so much. When we are happy, then only then we sing. Or obviously, when we are sad, you sing a sad song. But that's only in the movies. Generally, when a person is sad, he'll just cry or he'll go in his a room and just sit there tight. But in movies, they show that they sing a song when they're sad. But generally, you sing a song when you're happy. You dance when you're happy. Correct? Then water is the nectar there. All living beings are very, very pure. There is no rivalry at all there. There is no, envy. There is no pride. There is no anger. There is no fear. Nothing. There is no old age, no disease, no death. Like what we, experience here. In this material world, we have to go through 7 types of miseries. First 4 are birth, old age, disease, and death. These are some of the miseries. Now you might say, okay, death is a disease, death is a misery, disease is a misery, and old age is a misery. But how come birth is a misery? Everybody becomes happy when you're misery, when you take birth. Actually, birth is a miserable thing because when you take birth, then we have to go through the other 3 miseries. That's why it is miserable. Then there are 3 more things. There are miseries because of our own body, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik, right? Then there are miseries because of our belongings, surroundings. Like sometimes, mosquito bites you, you get malaria. That is a misery. Your professor, chastises you. You have a friend who is not good, he cheats on you. That is a misery. That's people because of the surrounding, Adi Bhautik. And then there is Adhyatmik. Adhyatmik means miseries because of nature. There's the earthquake, there is famine, there is corona, like that, right? Now, corona could be Adi Bhautik as well, but yeah, you can put it in both buckets. There are 7 kinds of miseries one has to go through, right? On top of that, there are many others, but primarily 7. But in the spiritual world, nothing like that. There is no disease at all. There is no, old age, nothing. None of these miseries are there, right? So that's our eternal home. That is where we belong. And our goal of life should be to go back where we came from. Now we have forgotten. Like you would have watched some movies. And in the movie, a hero is going on a bicycle or a bike and he meets an accident. And he meets an accident and he gets hurt on his head. He falls on his head. And then he forgets everything. Who am I? Where did I come from? Who are you? What am I supposed to do? This is what they show in the movie, right? And then he's not able to recognize his mother, father, girlfriend, whatever they are. And then what they do, they try to give some, shock to him, either an electric shock, or they try to put him through, some situations where the person will be able to remember his amnesia. That's correct. The person will be able to remember his past. Similarly, we have forgotten our spiritual life, our eternal home, and we have come here. Now, sounds very, very fantastic, phantasmagorial, right? But actually, that's the truth, right? And how do you know it's a truth? Because it's mentioned in the scriptures. It's mentioned in Bhagavatam Gita. It's mentioned in Bhagavatam that we have actually come some such a world. Actually, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? In that world, there is no sun or moon. There is no need for electricity. And even Brahma Samhita, which is written by Brahmaji, it talks about it, right? That there is a world where it's full of Vaikuntha planets. It's full of spiritual world. It's full of enjoyment. Yeah? So that's why our acharyas, great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja Acharya, Nimbarkar Acharya, right? Vishnu Swami, Madhva Acharya, so many great personalities, right? They have spoken about this, that we don't belong to this material world. We come from a spiritual world, right? So that's how we learn from an authority. We don't just learn from anybody and anybody, right? We learn from an authority, and the authority is saying that we have come from a spiritual world. Now the question might be, why did we leave the spiritual world and come? Now, for example, if you are happy in a particular place, would you leave that place and come to a different miserable place? No, we'll never leave a happy place. So why would we leave the spiritual world? Can somebody tell me why did we leave the spiritual world and come to this material world? What's the reason? Sounds very unlogical, illogical. Yeah, can anybody tell the answer? If it's possible, you can switch on your videos so I know who I'm talking to. Otherwise, it's like talking to a wall. So some of you who are in a position, you can switch on your video. It becomes very easy for me. Yeah, any answers? You can type in your answers in the chat window. Okay, there are some answers we got. For a purpose, due to sins. Okay. Amar is saying due to sins, and Mohit is saying due to purpose. Okay, any other answers? Anybody else? Just give a guess. No problem if you want to give a guess. Nobody's going to hold you. Okay, some more answers coming in. Karma. Okay, karma is only in the material world. Nothing to do in karma in the spiritual world. Spiritual world, nothing about karma. Okay, so we are going to explain. So this entire session is all about this. So don't worry if you don't get the answer right. We are going to tell you. And so why does somebody come from the spiritual to the material world? That's the question we're going to answer today. Now, the material world is compared to a prison house. What happens in a prison house? In the prison house, you cannot get out of the prison unless the prison keeper, jailer, he allows you. Right? So similarly, in this material world, we are confined to this world. You cannot jump off this world. You cannot jump off the earth, saying, I don't want to live here. Similarly, now we are I don't know what's the situation there where you are living now, but at least in Pune, we are confined to our homes because of the lockdown. Correct? Similarly, in this world, we are confined. It's like a prison house. Okay, so now it's a guess time. Let's try to solve this quiz. Now, in a jail, who goes? Jail is compared like a material world. The jail keeper is like a Maya Devi. Maya Devi means she's Durga. She's got a trident in her hand and she's controlling like a jail keeper. Right? Now, the food which we get in the jail, what is it compared to? Grains, fruits. Medicine which we get in a jail, like a herbs. Checked shirt in this picture you can see is like a material body which we have. Right? The whips we are getting from in the jail. If you do something wrong, they just hit you. Zoop! They hit you in the jail, right? So similarly, we get whips from the material world in the situation of, in the form of lamentation, illusion, hunger, and thirst. Lamentation means crying, oh, I didn't get this. That is lamentation. And illusion means considering I am this body. That is illusion. Hunger, you all know. Thirst, you all know. Now, when you get released from jail, you are going back to the spiritual world. When you stay in the state, you stay in the spiritual world. Laws of state are laws of God, and Prime Minister of state is God. So there's a very good comparison. You can see, right? Now, why does the soul leave the spiritual world? Now, there is a story. We'll talk about multiple stories there so that you can understand it nicely. And there's a video also. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video as well. Now, a boy is adamantly asking for a car. Papa, I want the car. I want to drive like you. I want to sit in the steering wheel. The boy is, asking. So what does the father do? He gives him a small car, which is a toy car. You can just pedal on it and go further. That's a small car. Similarly, the soul has come from the material, spiritual world to material world to imitate God. Because God has created a spiritual world, the jiva, the person like us, the soul, also wants to create. Hey, God, you have created, let me also create. So then God gives opportunity. Okay, Baba, you go in the material world and create whatever you want. That is what we came here. Another analogy can be given is a mother is cooking in the kitchen and a small child comes. Mama, mama, I also want to make roti like you. Mama, mama, I also want to make rasam like you. And mama says, you are so small. You know, if you start cooking, you will get burnt. So what does she do? She creates a small kitchen, toy kitchen. And she says, okay, you go and make chapatis, you go and make rice. If you go and make bisi bede bhat, I don't know what you guys like there, but rice item is, I'm sure. Rasam bhat, rasam rice, right? Or sambar rice, or idli dosa, whatever. You know, you go and make in your toy kitchen. And the child goes and plays in the toy kitchen for 2 hours. Idli bana diya, dosa, appam, whatever, right? So after 2 hours, the child comes to mother. Mama, mama, I am hungry. And the mother asks, hey, you have been cooking in your kitchen for 2 hours. Why are you hungry? And the child understands. No, this is all only plaything. Similarly, we have come to this material world to create our own things. And we are thinking, I am enjoying. This is my world. And this is where it is all wrong. Right? Okay, let's discuss more examples. Now a fish, if it's out of water and you give everything to it, money, eatables, mobile, TV, whatever, do you think the fish is going to be happy? Not at all. The fish cannot even live for a minute if it's out of the water. Similarly, a fish, only when it goes in the water, it becomes comfortable and it enjoys. Similarly, the jiva or the soul, it has come from the spiritual world and you are trying to enjoy here. I want more money. I want to enjoy. I want to do this. I want to do that. But you are not happy. Like today only I heard a news that Bill Gates got divorced from his wife, Melinda Gates. Right? Now, everybody might be thinking, oh, Bill Gates has got hundreds of billions of dollars. He must be really happy. No, he is miserable. Who becomes happy when you get a divorce? Recently, Jeff Bezos, he also got a divorce from his wife. Huh? Now, he might have millions and millions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars. He's one of the richest person in the world now, after Elon Musk. But he also got a divorce. Why? Because he had an affair with some other lady, right? Now, which means you have all the money in the world, you got a wife, but you're looking for happiness somewhere else, right? In Hindi we call, kahin aur jaake muh kala karke aa raha hai, which means you are going somewhere else and doing all nonsense things. So now, which means we are trying to find happiness in this material world by collecting money, by trying to have different things in different things, but nobody is happy. You ask anybody in this world, are you fully happy? People say no, everything is fine, but this corona has created a lot of problems for me. Everything is happy, but this my boss is creating problems for me. Everybody's got a pinprick in this world. Nobody is fully happy, but that is not the same case in the spiritual world, right? Now there's the story of a lost billionaire. I'm going to play a video. Yeah, let me know if you are able to hear the sound. You're able to hear the sound? I think I have to click somewhere. I share, right? Let me stop sharing and share again. Huh? I think there's an option where I can share the sound. Yeah, there it is. Okay, now let me know if you're able to hear.
The younger son told his father,
"Father, I want my share of your estate now, before you die."
Is everybody able to see the video? Just confirm. Okay.
So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. his younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pots he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger." He wasted everything his father gave him. While he had the job of feeding the pigs, the young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything. Finally, he came to his senses and said,
My father's workers have plenty to eat, and here I am starving to death. I will go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against God in heaven and against you. I am no longer good enough to be called your son. Treat me like one of your workers.
But when he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt sorry for him. He ran to his son. And he hugged and kissed him.
Hurry and bring the best clothes and put them on him. Give him a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. This son of mine was dead, but has now come back to life. He was lost and has now been found.
And they began to celebrate.
So similarly, we have also revolted against God. Right? Like somebody said, we have sinned against God. Similarly, we have revolted against God and we have come to this material world, which is a miserable place. Right? And now we have a way to go back to the spiritual world. And that is what this process is going to teach us. Right? So now, if you look at a tree, now when you water a tree, you are actually watering the root of the tree. You don't water all the branches and the leaves of the tree. You only water the root of the tree, and the tree gets all the water. Correct? You don't need to water every part of the tree separately. Correct? The tree takes care of it. Similarly, when you eat food, you actually give the food to the stomach, correct? But the stomach nourishes, digests it, and it provides the energy to the entire body, right? You don't need to give the food to every separate part of the body. Similarly, when all the souls, all the living beings in this world, they serve God, they love God, then the entire world can be happy. It is not possible that we try to enjoy, everybody tries to enjoy, and they'll become happy. It's not possible at all, right? Like, for example, if there is a lake and you take about 20 stones and you throw them randomly at the lake, then what is going to happen is the stones are going to produce the circles which are going to clash with each other, and all the circles will clash with each other. But if you throw all the stones at the center of the lake, right, it is still going to create circles, but these will be concentric circles which will not clash with each other. That is what it means by serving God, so that we can go back to the spiritual world. Otherwise, now what is happening is everybody is trying to enjoy, and there is definitely going to be a clash between them, because if everybody wants to enjoy, who's going to serve you? Everybody wants to just enjoy and become happy, which is not going to be possible. The spirit soul in the spiritual world derives great joy in loving service. Like Hanuman, you can see in this picture, he's always serving the Lord, and he's getting so much joy and service to the Lord, right? So the soul is a cooperator and not a competitor to God. Soul is dependent on the servant of God, not independent. We cannot be independent. There are so many things which are happening in this with us, where we can see we are not the controllers. We are not, like Corona. We are not able to control Corona, no matter what you do, right? It's very difficult. How are you able to, vaccinate about 7 billion people in the world? Very difficult. Similarly, there are so many things in our world which we cannot control. That's why we are not independent. We are dependent on God. We are dependent on the rains. We are dependent on the sun. We are dependent on the moon. We are dependent on wind. We are dependent on so many factors. So how can we be independent? That's the point, right? So soul can only be happy if it renders service to God, and then it can go back to spiritual world. If you try to enjoy on your own, eat, drink, and be merry, then you will remain here in this material world and get cheated. Cheated because you are like that boy in the movie. He was being cheated because he was thinking, I can enjoy separately from my father. But he finally couldn't. He understood that, enjoying separately from my father is not going to give me any results at all, right? So now let's try to understand how can we go to that happy planet. As I already told you, the happy planet exists because different acharyas, different great personalities have told us, and different Vedas actually talk about it. That's why we know, right? Similarly, so how do we go there is the question, and that's where we are going to discuss this now. ABCD formula. A for association means we have to associate with people who are, good by nature, who are saints by the nature. Then we can get good things from them. Otherwise, for example, if you want to become a drunkard, then you have to associate with a drunkard. Then you'll go to the pub. But if you want to become a good person, you have to associate with a good person. That's called association. In English, it is said, you tell me who you associate with, and I'll tell you what kind of person you're going to become. Because we are average of 5 people who we constantly associate with. 5 people who we associate with the most, we become average of those 5 people. So that's what association does. B for books. We have to read books which will stimulate our brain, not degrade our brain, not degrade our thoughts. So we have to read books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Which will help us to understand reality, what is happening in the world, understand really what God needs us to do, understand really where we are going wrong. All these books are full of these things. C for chanting. We already talked about this in one of the sessions, where if you do mantra meditation, it acts as a vaccine for, any sins we are going to commit. When you chant God's name, it provides you the purity to do good things and not do bad things. And it removes all the dirts from your heart. For example, there is a mirror and there's a lot of dirt on the mirror. You'll not be able to see yourself. So when you remove the dirt, you can see yourself face to face. Similarly, when you chant God's name And this chanting is in all the religions, be it, our Sanatan Dharma, Islam, or, Christianity, Sikhism, you name it, every religion has chanting. So in Sanatan Dharma also we chant. And by chanting, we are removing the dirt in our heart. What is the dirt? It's in the form of the 6 anarthas. You got anger, greed, envy, right? Illusion, pride, all these things are sitting in our heart, and chanting helps us to do that. D means diet. Whatever we eat, we are supposed to offer it to the Lord. Whatever you eat, vegetarian food obviously, non-vegetarian is not allowed because Krishna doesn't say, give me non-vegetarian stuff. But you offer vegetarian stuff. And then obviously we'll talk more about this in the future sessions. But just now it is very important to know that we have to offer whatever we eat. Now you might say, no, in our home they don't offer. So at least in your mind you offer. You just say Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. That's it. The food will be sanctified. Or you say Hare Krishna. That's it. The food will be sanctified. That is diet, because diet, whatever you eat is what you become. I'll tell a short story. Mahatma Gandhi was known to be non-violent. He was never had any violent thoughts in his mind. Kabhi bhi nahi. Never in his life. But one time he was getting a lot of violent thoughts. So he was thinking, well, what's happening to me? Why am I becoming so violent in my thoughts? So he asked around his place what has changed. And somebody told him the usual cook who used to cook for Mahatma Gandhi, he had left for his hometown. And another replacement cook had come. And this replacement cook was released from the jail on account of murder just recently. And while cooking for Mahatma Gandhi, he was thinking of killing somebody, violent thoughts. And that's how those thoughts came in the food, and Mahatma Gandhi got those thoughts. That's why food is very important. Food is what makes you. Your consciousness, your thoughts, the type of person you are is dependent upon the food. So the best food to eat is cooked at home by your mother or your sister, right? And then after that, offered to the Lord. It's not a very difficult process. It's very easy. Whatever is getting cooked at home, especially only vegetarian food stuff, you just place it in front of a photo of Krishna and say, Krishna, please accept. And then you have it. That's it. Nothing complicated is required here. E for engagement, right? You have to do something for Krishna. You have to do some things, right? We talked about this association. Right? Like one time there was, okay, I'll come back to this. I'll just come back to this. So we're talking about engagement, right? So chanting we talked about. Diet we talked about, right? And the food is of three kinds: Rajas, Samas, and Sattva. Sattva means goodness. Rajas means passion. Tamas means ignorance. Ignorance means too much sleep, not much work. Rajas means only work, very active. And Sattva means blissful personality. So the kind of food we eat is what we'll become, right? Diet we talked about. Then engagement. We are doing so much things in our life. So we have to do some service for the Lord. Like the squirrel did some service. Okay? Like this old lady is doing some service for Krishna. Like similarly, Arjuna is doing service for Krishna by fighting in the battlefield. Similarly, we have to do some service, right? We could do service by reading Bhagavad Gita and putting the instruction in our life, or going to a temple, donating, doing some service there, whatever it is. We have to engage in some active service. That's how actually helps us to become purified. And then, yeah. So there are so many different things. You can sing for Krishna, you can do so many things. You can paint, you can cook. Then there is, okay, I'll just come back to this poem. I just wanted to cover the story of association. We've got 5 minutes. I'm just going to finish in 5 minutes. So this also explains how association matters. There were 2 parrots, and those 2 parrots were they were brothers. Now they were in the jungle. So one hunter came and he caught the parrot. He sold one parrot to a butcher, and he sold one parrot to a sadhu, saintly person, right? Now, both of them were born in the same place. Both of them were actually associating with each other. But the parrot who went to the butcher's place started calling out, kill him, beat him, eat him. And he used to say bad words to people who used to come, right? The parrot who went to the sadhu's place, saint's place, he will call out to people, please come, Please sit down. Please have some water. Will you have some fruits? That is the difference. The same association of parrots, when they were differentiated, they actually acquired the qualities of the people who we are associating with. That's why it is very, very important who we associate with, right? It is very, very important. If you associate with somebody who is smoking, drinking, and doing all sorts of nonsensical things, that is what you will become. But if you associate with somebody like Prahlad Maharaj, who was a saintly person, then you will also become saintly. So that's why association, then books, not any books, books of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, which will help us to understand God and us more and more. Right? Then C for chanting, we talked about it. Then D for diet, talked about it. And E for engagement. Right? So there's a quick poem here. We'll just recite the poem and then we'll end. Oh my Lord, true beauty, but I am so very naughty to forget your eternal loving service. To venture into thrills, turning into perils, it's Maya's abode, nothing but a jail. So we ventured out to enjoy, but it turned to be peril. This place which we are seeing, it is nothing but a jail. Skin deep material beauty withers away quickly. Basically, whatever we see is going to wither away. We talked about it. Oh Lord, my true master, with such a sweet nature, our eternal relationship is Satchidananda, which means our eternal relationship with the God is continuous. Let me purify my heart and glorify my Lord with my body, mind, and words and soul by chanting. In times of despair and times of weather fair, I will never leave your soothing shelter. Chanting your holy names, praising your divine fame, I'll bring all suffering souls to the feet. To the world of mirth and merry, free from any worry, I'll bring them into your holy company. This basically summarizes whatever we discussed so far, right? So we talked about how there is a spiritual world and there is a material world. The material world is full of miseries. The spiritual world is full of happiness. We came from the spiritual world because we were envious of God. We revolted against God. We wanted to create something like God. That's why we came from the spiritual world. Like that boy who left his father's place. And now we are stuck here. We don't know where to go because we are all miserable. Right? Now, there's only one way of going back to the spiritual world is by taking shelter of God. And we talked about ABCDE, how we can take shelter of God and we can go back. Now you might say, oh, this is also fantastic, sir. How can this be? No, we have to really go deeper and deeper and try to understand what is the reason we are suffering. We talked about 7 kinds of sufferings, right? And look at the Shastras, read Bhagavad Gita, read Bhagavatam, you'll understand what is happening here. There are so many stories which in the Vedas, which talk about how the jiva, the soul has come from the spiritual world to the material world and is suffering day in, day out. Not only in this human form, we're also suffering in the other forms. There are 8.4 million species of lives, like a dog, cat, a pig, so many forms. So we have gone through all of these forms and we suffered. Now you might say, no. How can there be suffering in the lion's body or a tiger's body? It is so strong. No, it is not like every day your mother comes and gives you a plate. Have the food. The tiger doesn't get the food like that. It has to really struggle. 5-7 days it doesn't get a food. It has to hunt. Go after a deer who is running 30-40 miles per hour, right? And if it's lucky, it gets the food. Otherwise, it has to starve. Many times when they jump on the deer, they also get hurt. And there's no doctor there. Right? So it's a very, very difficult life in the jungle. And you can watch some videos on National Geography and you'll figure out. One time I saw one cheetah. The cheetah was trying to drink water from a pool of pond. And he didn't realize, right? I'll just see if I can find that on YouTube. And the crocodile came and it pounced upon the cheetah. And in a minute, the cheetah was gone, eaten by the crocodile. Right? It's a very, very apt this thing. Cheetah. I think it's this one. Yeah, I'll just share this. It's a 1-minute video. Meanwhile, if you've got any questions, you can type in the chat window or chat window. Yeah, type in chat window. Okay, I'll just share this and we'll finish with this. Yeah, let me know if you're able to hear the sound. Yeah. This is out of syllabus, but this is still useful.
Close to the crocodile. Oh. Oh! Oh!
You see, in a split of a second, the cheetah didn't even notice. It didn't even realize. Split of a second, and there are other cheetahs as well. You can see. That's maternal life, maternal world. That guy is not able to figure out what happened in a split of a second. You know.
Welcome back to Pinda and Beyond. Unfortunately, we have lost one of the young male cub from the crocodile. It went to drink just on the edge of the water, and you see now the mom. She's walking away. This is.
I'm just trying to see if they're going to do a no. So I'll just go back to the position when it was attacked. You'll see it's unimaginable. You know, you don't even realize what's happened in a split of a second. Yeah, see here. This is the time.
Oh!
Gone. Right. So that's how material world is. You know, it's not easy place to still. You know, you might think, oh, it's such a good cheetah. It can run 60 miles per hour. This is what happens. And I've seen another video. I'm not going to show that, but a big leopard attacks a crocodile and he eats the crocodile. That's also possible. So it's not easy to be in this material world, and you know, death can come to us anytime. So let's learn to obey the laws of God, and let's go back to a spiritual world where it's a happy planet, right? Like that. Thank you so much for your kind attention. If you've got any questions, you can type in the chat window and I'll try to answer them. No questions? Everybody's clear? So when I give a session, I say this always. If the session was good, you understood everything. Otherwise, you not understood everything. If there are no questions, that's what I realize. Just type in yes if you understood most of what I have told. At least I know in my heart that you understood. Okay, thank you. What about the others? Can you just type in the chat window if you understood or not? Okay. Okay, good. So I think then we can close the session. Admin, you have some announcement to do?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you very much for a wonderful enlivening session. So explained very beautifully how this material beauty is perishable, and what is the real beauty, and the difference between the spiritual and material world. And you reveal that happy planet to all of us. And you gave very nice examples, and that video was very